Good morning. This is Dan Dumas. Happy Memorial Day. This is the 5 by 5 for the Clarity channel on YouTube. I want to challenge you tonight with the question, are you dangerous? Are you dangerous? I'm basing that out of Philippians 1, verses 12 and 13. Let me begin by stating there are a lot of reasons why we experience adversity, persecution, and even at times a global pandemic. For example, one reason is because of our sanctification. God uses adversity and persecution in times like this for our sanctification. There are sanctifying effects of walking through the valley of the shadow of death. A second possible reason why we experience said adversity and persecution and a global pandemic is for the sake of ministry. 2 Corinthians 1 makes it real clear that we go through certain things, we experience certain things individually so that we'll be better ministers, so that we'll serve people better, we'll be able to share with them and provide empathy because we've walked in their footsteps. A third possible reason is because of sin. Sometimes we experience adversity and persecution because of our behaviors, because of our sin. And God, as you know, knows how to get our attention, right? A fourth possible explanation for why we go through adversity in times like this is for the glory of God. Job 1 would be a primary example of that. Job did nothing wrong, yet there's this cosmic conversation between Satan and God, and Job is being accused of being a poser, and God says he's not. Satan says he's in it for the blessings. God says no, he's not. And there's this cosmic conversation. Job is entirely unaware of the conversation. He was doing everything right, and he experienced tremendous adversity and persecution. And then there's a fifth category or reason, and that is for the advance of the gospel. That is exactly the case in Philippians 1, 12 to 18. That's what is in view. Let me remind you that Paul is in prison. He's not staying in a Ritz-Carlton in Rome, overlooking the beautiful vistas of the city, taking in great food, sitting on one of the 7 hills. No, that's not the case at all. He's incarcerated. He's in prison. And so the Macedonians want to accomplish 2 things. 1, they send him a gift. And 2, they ask him a question. Are you doing okay? His response is a reminder to us of what makes us dangerous. I love it because he really doesn't respond with any effects of his incarceration. You would think, for example, he would share with them maybe what the food is like, the fact that they're only giving him 1 meal a day, or maybe the bed is just rock hard and crushing his back. Maybe the smells and the foul odor of the sewer is enough to, drive him mad. Maybe the treatment is just heinous. But you know what? He doesn't do that at all. He doesn't talk about the effects of his imprisonment. What he does talk about is the effect of the gospel, and reminds us that the gospel is unstoppable, folks. This is what makes the Apostle Paul so dangerous, and it's what makes us so dangerous, is that we live above our circumstances. Our circumstances do not define us or control us. We pillow our head on the sovereignty of God. Now listen, the Apostle Paul wanted to go to Rome as a pastor, as a planter, as an apostle, as a preacher. You know what he goes to Rome as? A prisoner. God had another plan for him, just like he has other plans for us, and how they have been disrupted in the last 11 weeks. It's magnanimous. But that's what makes this dangerous, so dangerous. You can chain the Apostle Paul, but you cannot chain the gospel. We are not controlled or defined or manipulated by our circumstances. We need to learn to live above those circumstances. So what appeared to be, from the Macedonians' perspective, a setback, it was really a setup for the gospel. And so the Apostle Paul says, what has happened to me has turned out for the furtherance of the gospel. Is that true of you? That's what makes us dangerous, when we're not defined or controlled by our circumstances. I hope this is a bit of a challenge for you this evening. Don't live in light of your circumstances. Flourish where you're at, and that will be what makes you dangerous.